That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The Average Joe's bringing the Fantasy Thunder. What's going on, Dave?
Hey, how's it going, people? How's it going?
Man, it's a wonderful day. We got football tonight. I'm feeling pretty good. How about you? I know you said you're coming down with a little bit of sickness there. You feeling a little better for the people?
Hey, I'm fit. Look, talking about football and watching football is a good medicine.
Oh man, it makes you feel a little bit better. Quite honestly, I know certainly. Well, again, I'm your host Ollie, and my man here, Dave, no Tonio Brown, Allen, on the phone with us, bringing the heat. And we got a jam-packed show tonight, and football's on in about an hour, so we're going to try to get through everything we can. But first off, I always want to say thank you so much to the listeners. Thank you for coming back and supporting the show. We hope to continue to grow. Please do hit that like button. Just take 2 or 3 seconds and do that for us. It would mean the world to us. And subscribe. Subscribe, please. We certainly do appreciate it. So we got a few things here to talk about, but man, I want to start off with the most important question, Dave. How did your week 1 end up, man?
Oh man, yeah. Out of I don't know if I've said this, but I've got about 19, 20 teams.
Oh my God!
And yeah, I ended up actually only lost about 6 of those.
Man.
So week 1 went pretty well. Unfortunately, I had 2 matchups where one league, the only guy that beat me happened to be one of the only 2 people that scored higher than me. So 2 leagues were just bad matchups, and the other ones I'll talk about in a little bit.
A little while later on. Well, just be straightforward with the people and be straightforward with you. I wasn't so happy after week 1, man. I wasn't even that jacked up to do the show. Normally I'm jacked for the week, man, thinking about the show, and I kind of got into it here about 3 or 4 hours ago, but I was still having the week 1 blues, man. I got 6 leagues. I got something manageable. Definitely can't do 20. Got 6 leagues, 4 of which I care about, and in those games I went 1 and 3, and we play with some pretty hardcore people, so you draft kind of early or whatnot. And you sit there for a couple months and look at your team and marvel at the draft you put together, marvel at this excellence that you think you have. And then to get to week 1 and get your dreams and hopes and all that smashed, it can certainly hurt your feelings. And, it wasn't that I had such bad games, but I ran into the human buzzsaw in 2 of them, in 2 of the 4 that I care about. The Destroyer of Worlds. I ran into the Hellraiser himself. Tyreek Hill. Destroyed me this week. Destroyed me this week. And I was like, oh my gosh. That's what I get for putting him in my ADP 0 on the first one that I did, right? The first one I did, I moved him out. When we finally started recording together, I moved him out and said, hey, listen, I'm seeing preseason. This guy's he looks legit. But, yeah, he wanted to go ahead and show me, so we did. But, yeah, man, I had to have my feelings hurt this week. And I wanted to actually talk about, before we jump into the show here, one of my teams. I'm in a 14-team league. So, again, you got to keep that in mind. This is not 8. This is not 10, not even 12. 14-team league, which means some of the marquee players go a round or 2 earlier in these kinds of leagues. And let me run through it real quick. I want to tell you my first 5 or 6 picks and see how you feel. Now, again, we're going back 3 or 4 weeks. So don't think about this today. Think about the 3 or 4 weeks ago. This is my big money league. This is the one I want to win. I started off pick number 11 out of 14, Fournette. Pick number 2, Devontae Adams. I'm feeling pretty good right now.
Right, absolutely, as you should.
Yeah, I got a potential top 5 back and a potential top 5 wide receiver. I'm feeling really good. Pick number 3, Alex Collins. And you know how I feel about him. Didn't have the greatest week
Yeah.
one, and we'll talk about that here a little bit more later on. But Alex Collins, pick 4, and this guy was just shooting up the draft boards. Chris Hogan.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
no, definitely. A couple weeks ago, that was a great.
He was the hotness. And it makes sense for him to be the hotness because of what's happening in New England, which we'll talk about more later on. Not going to get into it right now. Pick 5, Jamal Williams.
Definitely.
Pick 6, Marquise Goodwin. And pick 7, someone we're definitely going to talk about here a little bit more, Burton. Now,
I'm loving that team.
I'm loving
that team.
I'm loving the team. And I went out there, man, and got smashed. And you know, I don't know what to do. And again, it's the first game. Certainly things can turn around.
Week 1 was weird. Week 1 was really weird for football.
Yeah. I could tell you. I mean, Chris Hogan. Let's talk about that later on. But yeah, that team. When I finished that draft, I almost said to myself, how can this happen in the 14-team league? How did I just do this to them? And I got dusted, and it hurt so bad. But neither here nor there. Let's go ahead, man, and jump into it. We've got a few things to talk about. What we're going to talk about first is week 1 regrets, whether it be during the draft, whether it be lineup setting your lineup during the week, or underestimating somebody. Whatever you regret, man, we're going to talk about that a little bit. I got a few people I certainly want to jump in there on. We're going to get into a few of the games this week. We're not going to hit every single one, but we'll talk about some of the marquee matchups this week. We'll talk about some of the under-the-radar performers for week 2. People we think you should get in your lineup. Obviously, we're not going to talk about guys like, start Tom Brady. I mean, that's obvious. We'll talk about some guys you guys may not be thinking about out there in fantasy land. And then we'll touch on waiver wire real quick. We're not going to do too much of that because every single podcast is doing waiver wire right now. But we'll shoot a couple names out there, maybe some more under-the-radar guys. So let's go ahead and jump into it, you fantasy fanatics. Let's start with the week 1 regrets. Do you have any of those? Or since you went 14-6, maybe you don't?
No, I definitely do. I'm having major rookie regrets.
Okay.
Having crazy rookie regrets. Just to name a few that I have on my teams, James Washington, who went out there and had 0 targets. And I know everybody heard how high I was on him in the first episode when I was saying that I would skip Juju and go get James because I don't feel that Antonio is going to have a great season. So that hurt.
Well, you still have some time on that one. There's still time for Antonio to get bit by gosh, what's the game called now? I can't even remember the name. Madden Curse. You still got some time on that. We're not going to wish that on anybody, but it's not over yet, so it may come to fruition.
Oh, no, definitely. For all you people that didn't listen to me, I'm still holding on to James Washington and Antonio Brown. That curse is coming.
It's real.
DJ Moore is another guy that had 0 targets that I had a lot of had shares of, and that was unfortunate to see.
I watched that game. I didn't even notice he didn't have any targets.
None. That's the same thing I thought. I said maybe he just didn't catch the ball, but going in and looking at the stats, it's kind of disheartening to see that he wasn't targeted at all. So
that's
that sucks. And then yeah, and then Anthony Miller, who I will say, I'm not. Before I get into Anthony Miller, I'm going to talk about somebody that was on my ADP 0 that completely showed me up, and that's Allen Robinson. I had no idea Mitch Trubisky was going to target Allen Robinson as much as he did. Granted, he didn't get, the big score or anything like that, but, I mean, the targets are there.
Right.
And I had no idea that was coming, so Anthony Miller, while he still had 3 targets, I'm hoping as the season goes on that goes higher. But like you were saying before I know you'll probably talk about him, but with Trey Burton being there, his targets weren't really there either. I just feel like there's a lot that Trubisky has to go around that he's going to have to help out. And then my last guy is Kerryon Johnson, who I won't really say that I'm too disappointed in him yet because I didn't start him.
Yeah.
And that Lions game was super weird. They got down.
It was the insane. I couldn't believe that game. I'm sitting there looking at
the
score like, do they have this wrong on the screen? Is it flip-flop? Like the Jets got 17 and the Lions have 41, right? Like someone's messing up. Someone's fired. No, it was the right score.
I was thinking this. I said the operator is crazy, and I don't know. I mean, the fans there were astonished. I think even the announcers were. It was just that game was out of control.
Yeah.
And so they got down early, and they had to stop running it early and start passing it. A little glimmer of hope for Kerryon, though, if any, for people with the deeper leagues. LeGarrette Blount did get hurt. And of course we don't wish injuries on anybody, but with him being hurt, that opens the door for Kerryon. Kerryon did end up leading the team in carries with 5, and he had 3 targets, which he caught all 3 of them. So there's a glimmer of hope there for Kerryon.
Now, repeat what you just said. He led the team in rushes with how many?
5.
5.
Yeah, 5 carries. 5 carries.
How does that happen in the NFL? What is happening? Oh my God!
So you had, when your quarterback is throwing, let me see here, I've got it up. When your quarterback's throwing 4 picks and 2 of them or 3 of them are going back for pick sixes, the run game goes down very quickly.
Yeah, you're right. I'm one of those guys. I'm not huge on the rookies, not even and much to my probably dismay and despise eventually. Maybe it might be my downfall, but I'm not even a big rookie running back guy. I don't go too high after them. I think outside of Saquon and Goose this year, I probably was off of some of these rookies, and it really depends on the team. And DJ Moore really shocks me though, because I actually thought he was going to come in and pretty much take up a bunch of targets over the middle, and to see him having 0. So I can, I can kind of see that. But a great example of this is out there in Cleveland. Some coaches just say, you know what, you're going to have to sit for a year and watch it happen. Nick Chubb's on the bench. They brought the quarterback in that I really like,
Baker
in, and they're saying, hey, listen, we brought these other veterans in. You're going to sit and watch for a year or maybe half the season, and we'll see how it goes. You just don't quite know how it's going to go with a rookie, even though they look pretty good in preseason. So, those are some big ones sometimes.
That Denver situation is crazy, too, because they were talking about Royce Freeman as the guy, and you turn on Sunday, and it's Phillip Lindsay. So,
that was
exactly
a big surprise. And he's definitely a waiver wire pickup. So, I got a couple guys, too, and we've already touched on one of them. And I have Trey Burton everywhere. I mean, and him and Kyle
that
Rudolph.
Nickname we came up with him worked.
Trey Dookie came through. Maybe I jinxed him with the name, but Trey Dookie actually went through this week. He had, I think, 3 targets, caught 1 for like 10 yards. It was horrible. And I'm sitting here looking like, wow, what we've seen in the preseason did not translate, and perhaps Allen Robinson coming in soaked up the targets that would have gone to Trey Burton. I don't know. I truly hope that turns around for Trey Burton. I'm not really ready to give up on him just yet, but he was certainly one of my regrets. And it's not so much the regret of picking him, because I got him in the 7th, 8th round, and for a guy who has top 5 talent at the position, maybe even top 3 talent at the position, it was good value. What I regret more than that is putting all my eggs in that particular basket, because if he does bust, I'm busted at the tight end position. So that may be kind of a lesson going forward. Always diversify, if you can. It's not bad to have a few shares of a guy, but when you have him on half of your teams, that might be a little bit much. But I bought the hype. I brought the hype. And at first I didn't. When he signed the big contract to Chicago, I said, okay. When they said, the offensive system that was it Nagy there? The coach came from Kansas City. You see how much they use a tight end in Kansas City. It's going to translate over to Chicago. I said, okay. But when Adam Shaheen went down, and I seen the preseason games, I said, it is all Burton. And then we hadn't seen Allen at all. So, he's definitely one of my regrets. Fournette already injured, hamstring injury, questionable for this week going in. I have him on 3 or 4 of my teams as well because it just seemed like I drafted at the end of the first round, and it kind of came down to, a Fournette or Dalvin Cook or maybe Hopkins sometimes there, and I'm a running back first kind of a guy. And I knew obviously he gets dinged up here throughout the season. However, I wasn't expecting it game 2, and he's my RB1. He takes my RB1 spot on most of my teams. So it's kind of a bummer right now to see him, already being questionable going into week 2, and this is a long season. So again, that may be more not so much the play, and he was on a great pace.
Yeah. His stats were looking good.
Yeah, he was looking real good
before he went out.
Real good. So, I mean, I hope he can get back out there, and if so, it'll be a great pick. But again, putting all your eggs in that basket, it could come back to haunt me. But one that
he said he's feeling good for Sunday. I didn't mean to interrupt, but yeah,
No.
He said he's feeling good. He's a game time decision on Sunday, but he says running on it. He's not practicing yet,
right?
But as far as running on it, I guess on the sidelines, he said it. It's feeling better. So I mean, if not this week, it's not for anybody out there listening thinking they should trade him, drop him, whatever. It shouldn't be too crucial just yet.
Right? No. I mean, I'm not having him on the trading block or the chopping block just yet. But it's just knowing that I have so many shares of him that if he is out for a game or two, I'm kind of struggling in a couple of leagues, so it can get rough. I got one more, and I'll let you jump back in if you have a couple more. This one's tough. Mixon.
Oh,
yeah.
Regret?
Let me go ahead and tell you what happened. So you remember at the beginning of the show here, I went over my squad, the 14-teamers, right? Well, Mixon was there as well in the third round. And I had a choice between Mixon and Collins.
And Collins, oh.
Yeah. Wait. Give me a shot here. So you know how I feel about Collins, and Collins was having a solid preseason. Now, I watched every Cincinnati preseason game I could. And with the exception of like a 30-yard reception by Mixon, he looked horrible. The offensive line looked horrible. I said, oh, no, here we go again.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen for him. Maybe it's not his fault. Maybe it's the offensive line. They looked a lot better passing the ball in preseason. So this may be a bust. It may be a bust, and I feel pretty good about Collins at least getting 1,000 yards. Maybe he doesn't completely break out superstar, but I feel safe. I feel safe with him as an RB2. Collins got 7 points. Mixon went off. And I don't know. That may very well haunt me for the entire season. I don't know.
Well, I won't say, before I would have said, I can't believe you chose out. But since we've had this conversation,
right.
I'm a little higher on Collins now. I can't say that was, like I said, week 1 was weird. The Bengals had the Colts. I mean, so, people are going to get off against the Colts defense.
Right.
And the Ravens went up against the Bills, and Nathan Peterman once again couldn't keep the offense on the field. So, the Ravens defense was doing everything, and Joe Flacco was comfortable at being super aggressive, which nobody expected.
Right.
So, I won't, that.
Well,
like I said, originally I would have disagreed with you, but right now I think, we'll see.
Well, the thing that may save him here, because I told you before, his issue, not so much the talent, it was the fumbling issues. That's what will keep him off of the field. And kind of like when you're saying about the other guy you mentioned, there's an injury now. I think you talk about LeGarrette Blount there. There's an injury now that may kind of open the door, and we hate to talk about injuries. We don't wish injuries on anybody, like you mentioned, even if it is to the demise of my fantasy squad. We want everyone to be healthy.
Right.
But this injury to Kenneth Dixon does potentially open the door for more of a workhorse, or at least security for Collins.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dixon's injury is serious. It's way more serious than Blunt. They put him on IR.
Yeah, he's on IR. So at least for 6 or 7 weeks here, we're going to have Collins kind of handling the between the tackles, kind of running. And if he keeps the ball in his hand, I think I'm still going to be okay. But that Mixon Collins scenario I had in the third round, my 14-teamer, could come back to haunt me. Do you got any more regrets for week 1, man?
Right. No, I did all my rookies. I did them all at once. I guess I should have kind of went back and forth with you. But I did want to talk about real quick. We were talking about Fournette. I wanted to mention a trade that I was able to get done today, actually.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'll go ahead. First of all, I'll go ahead and mention my team. I've got Big Ben, David Johnson, Dalvin Cook. I was able to trade for DeAndre Hopkins.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the owner had Marquise Lee, and he had another receiver that went down. Anyway, I was able to trade, get DeAndre, give him Fitz. This is a PPR league. And so a trade I was able to do today was I gave
I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off. You gave him Fitz. He gave you Hopkins?
It was Larry Fitz and goodness, it was something else. It wasn't just Fitz,
Okay.
Yeah, no. It wasn't straight up. It was Fitz and something. I'll see if I can find it. I'll bring it back up at the end of the show. But yeah, today I was able to give up Dion Lewis, Julian Edelman, and Kerryon Johnson for Fournette. So I'm very, very happy about
Dion
that.
Lewis,
especially if
Kerryon Johnson, and and Edelman. Okay, yeah, I can see that being a trade someone would possibly make, because Edelman, you think he comes back into possibly, hopefully, the number 1 role for one of my teams. So I'm definitely hoping for that. Okay, I can see that working out. So you got Fournette and DJ.
Yeah,
and Cook
and Dalvin. Yeah,
wow.
And DeAndre.
Yeah, you're looking
but
good,
that's
man.
that's actually one of the teams that lost. I lost last week with that squad, so we will see.
Yeah, fantasy is a fickle, fickle witch, and you never quite know what's going to happen. Yeah, man, but you should be looking good on the team. Okay, good deal. Yeah, we'll move along to the next segment here. I will say that I left Kenny Stills on my bench on one of my leagues, but that's not a huge regret. At least I have him. So yeah, he kind of went off too.
Right. Yeah, but you have him. I mean, that's something you couldn't really guess. That game again was weird. A 6-hour game. So I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a tough game. It's tough to start and stop like that and keep yourself ready. But he had a pretty good game. So let's go ahead real quickly here and talk about a few of these games this week. Talk about 4 or 5 of them. Then we'll get into some of our under the radar performers. All of a sudden, the Tampa Bay Philadelphia game looks intriguing.
Yeah. Out of nowhere, that's actually a game to watch now. With some fantasy value there. I don't know. I actually was one of the fortunate people that started Ryan Fitzpatrick last week.
How did you call that one?
Well, I'm in a super flex league. I drafted, I think it was Andrew Luck first, and then I took Jameis later.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, hopefully I can get Ryan Fitzpatrick to kind of get me through the first 4 weeks or so, bring Jameis in.
Right.
And so since I only had those 2 quarterbacks, I had to start Fitz, and boy, was I happy.
Woo.
But to talk about the matchup this week, I don't know. I don't know if I'm throwing Fitz out there again. Once again, I'm not being a homer, but I don't know if I'm throwing Fitz out there against the Eagles defense.
Yeah, Eagles they're a pretty stout defense, and I was kind of thinking the same thing. I'm not sure if these wide receivers are going to run rampant, but when you got 3, I mean, they got 4 wide receivers. You got Evans there. You got Chris Godwin, which is I think is a second-year player coming into his own. You got D-Jax, and you got Adam Humphries. Throw in a little bit of O.J. Howard, and you can't guard everybody.
That's absolutely right. That's true, especially if D-Jax ends up playing. He's now, he's now dealing with a shoulder injury on top of the concussion he suffered. So we will see about him. It's definitely a guy that will spread the field, and he's definitely the type of person that would love a shot to show up the Eagles.
Yeah, he certainly
having
would.
been traded for them. So yeah, that could be. Actually, I do have a regret not to go back, but Peyton Barber.
Okay.
I played him last week, and I know I keep saying this, but week 1 was weird. When you got Fitzpatrick as one of your top rushers on your team,
yeah,
it's just crazy.
That's never a good thing. He's 70.
Yeah, so
he shouldn't be the leader rusher of the team.
Yeah, this guy should be on. He should be gassing up every after every down.
Right.
And I don't know, but yeah, I don't know how to value Peyton Barber. I don't know how to value that backfield at all.
Well, I think he's seen the majority of snaps, though. I mean, he had a pretty big snap share.
Yeah. His snap count was definitely there. You're right.
So assuming we're not going to keep seeing, Dan Marino out of Fitzpatrick here, I'm assuming that Peyton Barber will get a few more carries, but he's a clear-cut leader in that backfield, hands down. I mean, they didn't even suit up Rojo, so Ronaldo's inactive. Exactly. So I don't take any stock in Jacquizz Rodgers at all. I mean, I think he can come in and catch a couple of balls and spell them, but I think you're okay with Peyton Barber. I think it was just kind of an outlier kind of a game. I don't know if you want to tee him up against Philadelphia, but I think over the season long, I think Peyton Barber will be a good value because you probably got him pretty late.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Just speaking about the other side really quick, I think for me, Nelson Aguilar is definitely a start.
Absolutely.
Especially what we saw last week with Nick Foles targeting him. And I think I saw something earlier today or heard something earlier today that Nick Foles has had 2 good games last time he's played the Buccaneers.
Right.
So I don't know if that's an option you necessarily want to go after, but it is something to look at.
No. Staying away from Nick Foles, he kind of messed over my cornflakes last week. I had Mike Wallace. I said, Alshon Jeffrey's not in. Mike Wallace is going to soak up some of those targets. Matt Collins, I believe, is not playing. I'm all in on the Mike Wallace choo-choo train here, and he got 3 targets and 0 receptions. I'm not messing with Foles. I'm not messing with Wallace. He did target Ertz, so you can safely play Ertz. I mean, you drafted him so high, you have to play him anyhow. But you can feel good about Ertz, and I think you can feel pretty good about Ajayi because he hands down like the best back out of the backfield. Yes. I think the Clement hype train was going pretty strong at the beginning of the fantasy season, and it is since dead.
Yeah,
after game 1. I mean, he could emerge, but I mean, I don't think he's going to challenge Ajayi for snap count there. So yeah, that's a good game. I'm going to be intrigued to see what happens with Fitzpatrick there. I mean, if he can string together 3 really good games, you may have a situation where they say, you know what, Winston, we want to show you who's boss here a little bit more and keep you on the bench for a couple of more games. I don't think it'll happen.
Absolutely.
I don't think it'll happen, but if you throw 400 yards a game here, I mean, 300 yards a game even, you have to at least go with a hot hand, and maybe that may happen. We'll see. All right, so let's move along to the another game that's turned pretty intriguing here. And we're going to get back into talking about the Hellraiser, the destroyer of worlds, Kansas City and Pittsburgh. What do you think about that one?
Oh, that is going to be I actually was going back and forth with Big Ben on this one, and it has nothing to do with his first game, which we'll get into that a little later with our Powder Panic segment. But yeah, I was going back and forth with him. I picked up Case Keenum, trying to decide what I was going to do between those two. But Big Ben apparently has been, from what I've researched, has been pretty good against Kansas City.
Okay.
He's dominated them every time he's played, and he's back at home. So,
yeah, with Kansas City's newfound offense, dump the ball over to Tyreek Hill and let him run in for 70 yards. You could have
that's another thing. That's another crazy. This Patrick Mahomes thing. Okay, for me personally, I'm not there yet. I'm still not there. He was 15 for 29, so he still was about 50%.
Right.
And 2 of his touchdown passes were what you just said. I'm gonna barely toss it. I mean, a 7-year-old could have thrown. I'm gonna barely toss it in front of me and let Tyreek Hill be an athlete and be great. That's what I'm gonna do for 2 of my touchdowns.
Let Tyreek Hill be great, and you know what? If it works, it works. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe there was no regression coming. He and Kamara, they showed me to shut it up. Okay, Kamara, I said, Kamara can't score every 8 or 9 touches. He said, I'm going to score every 6 touches just for Oliver, just to shut him up. I was like 3 touchdowns, oh, my God, on 17 touches. It's ridiculous. He wasn't quite, Kamara, anyhow, efficient in the running game, but he was a great receiver at the backfield. I think 9 for 112 yards or something, 3 touchdowns, ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, you know what? I'm off it, man. These guys are great. Tyreek Hill is great. They didn't do much with the running backs there in the backfield in Kansas City. A lot of people who started Hunt were probably very disappointed with what happened. On the Pittsburgh side of the ball, Juju looked great. He kind of picked up where he left off. He doesn't need a ton of targets to be good. Seems like a lot of the defense rolls over to Antonio Brown and kind of leaves him in these one-on-one situations where he breaks loose, man. He had a great game. Again, no Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell is holding out again this week. Didn't show up to practice or the team meeting, so people are going to fire up Connor there, who, as long as he keeps looking good, I'm not – let's spend a second on that. If Connor keeps looking good, because there's some differing opinions here on what's going to happen, why not just set up a sign and trade? Let's keep Connor. He can handle the load. Let's find some running back desperate team. I don't know, like San Francisco 49ers, Homer, and trade Le'Veon because they have the money to sign him. Let's do a sign and trade and get him out of here. What do you think? What do you think the Pittsburgh Steelers are thinking about this?
I think. Man, as a fan, as a fantasy owner, as an owner of Le'Veon, I wish they would do that.
Please.
I wish they would go ahead
Please.
and get rid of Le'Veon and let him go excel somewhere else. But as the Steelers organization, I don't know, if those guys are, what's the word I'm looking for? Like,
level-headed.
I don't want to use petty.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, like I don't know if they're the type that are like, well, we have to win this. He's holding out. We're not going to give him what he wants. He's going to stay here, whatever.
Well, so, here's the worst thing that can happen, though. He shows up. He sees, Connor out here killing it. He says, wow, well, I'm not doing myself any good. It would have went to Le'Veon's agenda had Connor gone 15 for 50 yards. 15 carries, 50 yards. He's not looking so good. We need this guy back. Connor killed it. So now you're not looking so hot. The worst thing that can happen for Pittsburgh is he shows up and signs the deal and collects $1 million a game when you can pay Connor for I don't even know how much he's making. It's probably on a rookie deal.
Right, yeah. And Le'Veon is, you can tell Le'Veon knows because he was reaching for stuff. He put out a tweet during the game and he just said he's never seen a game end in a tie before. And he's reaching when that's all he can say.
Right, all you can say.
Right, yeah. We know that James Conner balled.
Balled out. Did exactly what you probably would have done.
Yeah. So he knows he knows he's probably going to have to get back.
Yeah.
Get back out there if he wants to see any.
And he costs $800,000 a game less.
Yeah. You're hurting your pocketbook. You're hurting your pocketbook, man.
Yeah.
And you're not even getting to advertise for other teams. Like at this point, it's like, who are you winning at all in anything?
I don't know, right? I mean, we know what Le'Veon brings to the table. We know it's a great back, but what you're trying to prove here is I'm worth all of this money, and I'm worth this guaranteed money. And what they're showing you is, we could take a rookie or a second-year player, no name, basically, coming into the season and do just as good with him. What is that saying to other teams? You better get on the field and show, hey, you know what? I'm unique. I'm a transcendent talent. You got to get me on the field. You got to pay me. You need to be out there balling, Le'Veon. I know you're not listening, but if you are, get your behind on the field. Excuse me. Let's move on. All right, so we got another good game here, and it's probably going to be dependent upon the quarterback. We got Minnesota Green Bay. If Aaron Rodgers trots out there on the field, how do you feel about his chances of doing well on one leg?
I can't ever say that I don't like Aaron Rodgers' chances.
Right? Yeah, it's hard to bet against.
Even on the one leg, the only thing that would keep me from playing Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers not playing.
Right. Okay.
If he's going out there and I feel like Aaron Rodgers is the type of guy that, he's gonna play if he's feeling, almost or close to 100%. He's gonna go out there and play. So, if Aaron Rodgers suits up,
you're playing.
Unless I've got a quarterback that just has a great matchup, I'm probably going with Aaron Rodgers.
I am scared for Aaron Rodgers. He's a warrior. I think he's going to go out there, but the Minnesota defense is frightening. And if he can't move, I am really, really frightened for him. I don't know if he's going to make it through the game. If you see him take too many hits, you got to think about your franchise. Not only think about your franchise,
right.
Think about the millions upon millions upon millions, the bus of money you just backed up in
right.
the driveway. Let's sit him down for a week and then get him back healthy. Next week will probably be my idea. But the Green Bay offense is nothing without Aaron Rodgers. All of your fantasy prospects, your Jamal Williams, your Jimmy Graham, your Devontae, your Cobb, all that is dependent upon Aaron Rodgers playing. So if Aaron Rodgers decides to do the smart thing and sit down for a week, are you rolling any of those guys out there?
No. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't play, the receiving core of Green Bay turns into the Cowboys receiving core, and I don't want anything to do with him.
Not even Devontae Adams, because he did shine. He had a good year last year without Aaron Rodgers.
He did. I agree, but against the Vikings defense, and we saw Kaiser get killed by the Bears defense when he came in to spell Aaron Rodgers for a couple plays. So, no, not this week, not against the Vikings. No.
I'm with you. Yeah, sounds pretty good. And I can definitely. I mean, I have no choice. I have some Devontae Adams on some of my teams. I don't have anybody that I could say that has the ceiling he has. So I'll take a shot at him, maybe catching a touchdown. But you're right. I mean, if I had a stacked team, he might be one I consider putting on the bench there. On the Minnesota side of the ball, we obviously have Thielen. Looked pretty good last week. He got a lot of targets. As a matter of fact, I think he had more catches and targets than Diggs, who they said was going to be the number one. What do you think about that situation?
Thielen continues to find a way. He continues
Thielen
to find a way
no
matter what you no matter what you want to say about him. Thielen is nice. It's nice. Thielen gets the job done. It doesn't have to be pretty. It does, but he's gonna get it. He's gonna get it done. He's gonna give you a safe floor, and he just fits that offense. And I think he's gonna continue to produce.
I feel a lot better about him. I actually made a trade in one of my leagues to go up and get him in the draft, and from all the chatter on the off season that Diggs was going to completely be the man, it kind of had me scared. But after seeing the game one, and granted it was against the 49ers, but after seeing game one, I was pretty happy with his production. I feel pretty good about his role in the offense. I'm liking his chance of having a big year this year. But one guy you can't feel so great about is Kyle Rudolph. He was supposed to be a thing this year.
Yeah, Kyle. I've never really I can't ever get myself to buy in on the Kyle Rudolph situation, even though he's been on some teams that have beaten me.
Right.
But yeah, Rudolph is tough to gauge. He's gonna be your guy that can get you 2 touchdowns and like 4 or 5 red zone targets one week, and then can be asleep the next week. He could be hurt one week. I don't know.
Yeah.
Kyle Rudolph is up in the air for me.
I don't know. I think he had 1 reception. I'm not sure how many targets last week, but I know he had 1 reception, and that reception just happened to go for a touchdown. But that was it. If he didn't catch that touchdown, you got blanked.
Yeah.
That would have been tough to swallow.
He saved his fantasy value. He saved it.
Certainly did. All right, well, that's a pretty good game. We'll be watching that one pretty closely. You got 2 more games we'll touch on real quickly. Carolina, Atlanta. That seems to be a big divisional game there. What do you think about Atlanta's chances here, Matt Ryan?
Oh, that game is so scary for me in so many ways on both sides of the ball. Carolina lost their second O-lineman.
Yeah.
Atlanta's missing 2 of their star players on defense, Keanu Neal and I think Deion Jones is the other guy. That game is tough to gauge. Devontae Freeman is, not completely healthy. Don't know if he's going to go, which is nothing new. But, yeah, that game could be wild. It's funny that Panthers' offense loses something, Atlanta's defense loses something, so they kind of even out. And then on the flip side, Atlanta's offense is still pretty good. Panthers' defense is fine. So it's going to be a fun game to watch from both of those aspects. If I had to choose who I think will win this game,
I go Carolina.
Man.
Yeah. I'm loving Cam Newton in this game. I'm off of Matt Ryan completely. And that's probably more of a personal thing. He came off his MVP season. The season after, I drafted him in the 5th round of one of my 14-team league, and he basically gave us nothing for most of the season. So I'm off Matt Ryan. Had a horrible, in my opinion, game 1. I think he is a better real-life game-managing quarterback than he is fantasy quarterback. Obviously, you have Julio Jones, but one of the interesting developments here would be Tevin Coleman, possibly having the backfield to himself. Are you firing him up as an RB1 this week?
Not as my RB1. Well, let me say that if he has to be my RB1, then, I'm putting him in there because he's going to get all the touches. He's going to get the passing down. But if I can help it, if I have other people to put in there, no. But if I'm deciding between Tevin Coleman and Jamal Williams, I'll probably go Tevin Coleman this week. If I have to make a decision between Tevin Coleman and Alfred Morris, I'll probably take Tevin Coleman. So it just, it depends on who you're comparing.
Well, let me ask this question: Tevin Coleman or Rex Burkhead?
Give me Tevin. For this game especially, I like James White in that matchup against Jacksonville more than I like Burkhead. So give me Tevin Coleman.
Okay. So you're pretty high on Coleman. So you have him possibly, obviously, if Freeman is out, RB1 top 12 running back this week. You'd fire him up.
I don't want to say RB1 numbers. There's quite a bit of running backs I'd start over him, but I think he can get you a good amount of numbers. Yes, especially if Devontae Freeman can't go. Okay,
one more comparison then. This might be a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Are you firing up Carlos Hyde or Tevin Coleman?
Give me Carlos.
Now, Carlos has a pretty juicy matchup this week.
No, he does. He does against the Saints.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I like Carlos. I'm gonna say Carlos.
Okay. All right. I got you. No problem. So yeah, that's an intriguing game. I think Carolina's gonna come out on top of this game. They got a pretty good defense, and as long as you have Cam Newton on the field, I think your offense is going to move. He's not the most accurate quarterback, but he can run. Obviously, we have McCaffrey there, who's going to soak up some targets. I know Olsen went down, but I think they just kind of shift the targets around a little bit, going more towards Devin Funchess and CMC. So I think they'll be just fine on offense. The offensive line may not be that big of a deal now that Atlanta's lost a little something on defense. So I think it'll be a high-scoring game, but I think Carolina will come out because they, sometimes defenses can snuff out an offense a little bit. And Matt Ryan, again, I'm not so high on. So good deal, good deal. Now, we got a game tonight where I get to see the two running backs that I had to decide between square off.
yeah. This is a game for Ollie. This is
my game.
For you.
I can feel great or I can feel sick. I'm hoping at the end of the night, at the very least, I'll be kind of neutral. Everybody will have a good game. But if you had to bet your paycheck on Mixon or Collins, who are you rolling with tonight?
Oh, man, I would have to fire up Collins.
Oh! Ding, 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 ding! You gotta explain this one.
If I had any shares of him, unfortunately I don't because of how strongly I felt.
Right.
But I can't start Mixon against that Ravens defense over Collins against that Bengals defense.
Yeah. The Baltimore defense is consistently in fantasy underrated. One of my leagues this year, I actually I had two good defenses, and don't get on me, don't stop listening because I had two defenses. They were there. I knew they were a value, but I think I had the Jags and I had Baltimore. And I was able to go ahead and trade Baltimore for a second-round pick next year in one of my dynasty leagues. And people hated it. People hated the move. Not on my end. They got on the other guy. How do you give up a second-round rookie pick for a Baltimore defense? And just so happened the guy won by 10 points and Baltimore balled out and had and helped them win the week. So don't give me defense is not worth anything, people. They can win your weeks. Last year, I think, the Jags scored 20 points a game almost. Don't give me they can't help. They are worth something. So, that Baltimore defense is constantly underrated, and I think they may just hold Mixon in check. I probably would have gone the same way as you would have gone there between the two this week, and we may see what we've seen in the preseason where Mixon and the offensive line struggles a little bit, and they may go more towards the air here because Jimmy Smith for Baltimore is out for several weeks, and that will, obviously open up a little bit, in the air for Baltimore. The Bills couldn't take advantage of it because they don't have a quarterback. But, Andy Dalton is at least, he's at least a decent quarterback. And he's at least a decent quarterback, so you may be able to exploit those matchups back there. But who do you have in the game?
I was just about to say, I got to admit something to everyone real quick so you guys can – either I'll be really happy after tonight or I'll be like, gosh. But I'm starting Buck Allen on one of my teams.
Oh, okay.
That's
not a bad start.
Fired up Buck Allen tonight, and I'm still believing in Buck, so we will see. But I'm taking the Ravens. I'm taking the Ravens tonight.
Yeah, no. Buck Allen's a decent start. I mean, he's more flex-worthy than, to me, a starter. Which I mean all starters, but he's more flex-worthy than someone I'll put in my 1 or 2 position. But just like Collins, he takes a little bit of a bump upwards with the injury to Dixon. So I don't think he's a bad start this evening at all. He's definitely going to be more of the pass-catching sort of back. And they put him in a lot around the goal line. Now, that kind of dwindled off a little bit last year as Collins got stronger. But if they're in that 8-yard, 10-yard range, they like putting Buck Allen out there for having the option of running and passing more than, Collins, because Collins is not so much a passing back. But, I think that's a good start. He's a hot waiver wire ad this week, so you have him. I certainly roll him out there in this game. Absolutely.
Now, for the people, I'm starting him because I have to. So I don't want you guys taking out, Adrian Peterson or somebody putting in Buck Allen.
Right.
I have to do it.
Have to do it. Okay. Who's out for you? Where you have to?
Well, that team is actually I have Le'Veon Bell.
That's
and then I have Aaron Jones and Todd Montgomery, but Aaron Jones isn't back yet, and I don't want to
yeah.
start Ty Montgomery, so
Yeah.
go with Buck.
Yeah, I got a tough situation in my Le'Veon Bell league as well, where he's out. I wasn't lucky enough to get Connor, and really at the beginning of the season, we drafted about 2 months ago. You couldn't tell whether it was Connor or Jalen Samuels. Anyhow, you didn't know who to pick there, so I didn't get anyone, and there was no at that point in time there was no threat of him holding out. I mean, he said he was going to have the best season of his life, so you thought he was going to play. But I have he's out. I have Rex Burkhead, who's in concussion protocol right now, so I am hurting in this league and considering possibly having to start Gillislee along with Melvin Gordon. And you're probably asking how I got Melvin Gordon. I made a pretty good trade at the beginning of the season, but we're not going to touch on that. Anyhow, it was him. It was Dave, people. I got Melvin from Dave. He got. I siphoned off. I siphoned off. You got McCoy. I gave up some stuff here. I'm not going to lie. I gave him a first rounder next year, a second rounder next year. I gave him LaShawn McCoy. And I gave him Emmanuel Sanders. So right now he's not feeling so bad because Manny Sanders had an awesome game. Yeah, he had an awesome game.
And he talked me up. He talked me up on McCoy. So before you guys are like, change it up, McCoy, he came with some good stuff. And another thing, Ollie is persistent. I told him no 2 or 3 times, and he came back and kept asking.
You have to.
And finally convinced me.
You have to. Not think, look, at the end of the day, I think McCoy is going to have an okay season. He may not be the top 12, RB1 we've seen. It's not his fault. The offense there is just pitiful. But he's going to get the ball. I still think he's going to be RB2 territory, along with Sanders having a solid season. It's going to, and you got a number 1 coming up next year. It was a solid trade. And as a matter of fact, you may come out on top with that particular trade. But for me right now, when me being in win mode right now, I'm lucky to have Melvin Gordon because I had no clue Le'Veon was going to be out. And thank goodness. If I had both of them, it was over in that league. It's over in that league. If he comes back, it was over. But with Le'Veon being out, everybody has a shot. Anyhow, let's move on. We've been going for about 15 minutes here. The game's coming on in about 20 minutes. I want to run through these last 2 segments here. Under the radar performers for this week. Give me a couple you got there.
I think you should. Some must starts for me is Adrian Peterson. Again, I know last week I wasn't really high on him. Going against the Colts this week, I think you got to throw him out there. I think whether it's RB2 or flex, I think he's got to be in your lineup. And I also like Chris Thompson. One reason I wasn't really high on Adrian Peterson is because of the fact that I said that they do have Chris Thompson to spell him. But as we saw last week against the Cardinals defense, which isn't a terrible defense, but they were able to use both of them, and they were both able to do very well. So I think Chris Thompson is a sneaky start. Adrian Peterson for me is a must start.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like Thompson as well. I don't think anyone feels his role. The reason I was down on Thompson this year was, last year he had an insane efficiency, kind of like, we're talking about Kamara and Tyreek Hill. He had an insane efficiency, and he said he wasn't 100% coming into the season. He may not be 100% for several weeks, maybe going into October, November. So I was like, man, I don't feel so good about that. But he came out and balled out, looks really good. So I would have no problem firing up Thompson in my my flex. So absolutely, yeah. I actually have a guy on my list that you've already mentioned, Buck Allen. I think he's going to have now that Dixon's out, he's more solidified in his role as well. Now his role was never in question, but I think he has more opportunity now to spell Alex Collins in the run game, not so much just the pass game, but now he gets more carries. So I like Buck Allen. James White is another guy that should benefit here. You got Burkhead, who's in concussion protocol. He is practicing. However, they may take more of a cautious approach to him. Instead of giving him, 17, 18 carries, maybe, ratchet that down to 10, 12 carries, and maybe James White has a good week here. One guy that surprised me, Deion Lewis, looked twice as good as I thought he would. I know he's a pretty good
Yeah.
running back, but he looks like he may end up being the lead dog there in Tennessee.
Yeah, I actually and another one of the leagues we're in, I have a little friendly bet going on with a league mate in there. He's got Derrick Henry,
Right.
and I've been high on Deion Lewis since he got there, and we have a little friendly bet. I bet that Deion Lewis will end with more fantasy points than Derrick Henry. But yeah, I am all for Deion Lewis over Derrick Henry, especially where they were being drafted at the time.
Right.
So yeah, I'm all for Deion Lewis. Kind of taking the majority of the
Henry is going to, get his. I mean, he is a talented back. He's going to get the, first down, second down role, but it looks like Derrick Henry, Lewis is going to be able to get the mixture of the two. He's taking all the passing downs, and they're going to give him a series of two here and there. So that if you got him in the 7th or 8th round, 9th round, and during the draft, you probably got a pretty awesome value there. A couple of more guys I want to make mention of: T.J. Yeldon, if Fournette sits, Dante Pettis, if Goodwin sits, he's a good flex play, and two more people, and I'll be done. Jalen Richard out of Oakland.
Oh, yeah.
He's one of those guys that's been around for a few years, and you're kind of like, but he looks like he's going to be the passing back there in Oakland.
Yes.
He looked pretty good.
I was surprised to see the use that they gave him, having Marshawn Lynch, also having Doug Martin there.
Right.
I know Gruden came out and said Marshawn Lynch was dealing with some sickness, but I think even a healthy Marshawn Lynch, they're still going to throw Jalen Richard in there. So I think that's a sneaky start.
Yeah, he's a guy to look out for. I'm not sure if you want to start him this week, but certainly if he's on your waiver wire, I throw him on my bench, kind of see if they, keep his usage where it's been for week 1, and if it looks like he's going to be in there like he was before, he is definitely someone that may be flex worthy for you. And last one I got to go with here is Jimmy Garoppolo, Jimmy G, Jimmy Handsome, Jimmy GQ, whatever you want to call him, Jimmy Good Looking. He had a rough week 1, but even with a rough week 1, they were in contention with Minnesota, within 1 touchdown, and they had some mistakes, they had some drops, they had a fumble on the goal line, so they were right there. So San Francisco, I'm going to plug them because I'm a homer. I came out of that game feeling better than I probably thought I would have with the loss, but I think Jimmy Garoppolo is the kind of guy that has that fiery passion for winning, and the mistakes he made against Minnesota, I don't think you'll see those mistakes much more through the season. And obviously, he's not playing a Minnesota-level defense every week.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Coming in first game, having to go against the Minnesota defense.
Right.
What could you really, you know what I'm saying? So, and we've already seen what Jimmy G can do. We saw it last year. He did great. So, like we've been preaching all episodes, the week 1 was weird.
Right. Yeah, it was weird. Do you have anybody else for under the radar performers?
One guy that was on my ADP 0, Brandon Cooks. Jared Goff went after Brandon Cooks. They actually to me, they exiled Robert Woods out of that offense. It looked like Brandon Cooks and Cooper Kupp were getting the majority of that. So I like Brandon Cooks. Oh.
I don't know. I think Woods still got a pretty decent amount of targets, if I'm not mistaken. We have to go back and check the stats here. We're not big enough to have a stat guy just yet, but we'll get there. I think he got 7 targets, so I think there's enough to go around. They just kind of missed on the connection a few times. I think he had 3 receptions. He had a target in the end zone. If he would have came down with that, would have had a pretty good week. So there may be enough to go around. But, yes, certainly Brandon Cooks is much more versatile than Sammy Watkins. So you may see a lot more targets going his way.
And he was not in any way a distraction player at all. He was obviously being used in that offense and being focused on, and Jared Goff likes him. So, I think Brandon Cooks needs to be fired up. Especially the Cardinals defense didn't look fantastic against. They made Alex Smith look amazing last week. So
yeah,
I'm firing up Brandon Cooks.
absolutely, absolutely, good deal. Well, we'll move on to the next segment here, and we'll just run through this real quickly. Again, every show out there is done a waiver wire. We're pushing an hour here. The game's coming on in a few minutes, so I want to get through this. But a couple of quick waiver wire lookouts. John Brown, I think you got to go ahead and pick him up. He's on your waiver wire.
Yep.
He started catching fire at the end of the fantasy football draft season. Ryan Grant, he looks like he may be kind of the safety blanket, along with Jack Doyle there in Indianapolis for Luck. So I like Ryan Grant a lot. I know you have him on a couple of your teams. What do you think? What do you think about his first week?
I loved it. I love Ryan Grant's first week. Like you said, I couldn't have said it any better. He does look like a good safety net. T.Y. Hilton is still going to be the touchdown guy, but Ryan Grant was, third on the team in targets. He had 9 targets behind Jack Doyle and T.Y. Hilton. Right. So, and he was efficient. He was 8. He caught 8 of them.
Right.
So
short passes, but
he
looked pretty good. Yeah, I like him. One more I'll list here for a quick waiver wire. If you're in a really deep league, or if you're really short at wide receiver, you may want to consider Cole Beasley. He soaked up 28% of the target share last week, and if that continues, and remember, 2 seasons, not last season, but the season before that, he was the man for Dak. He did. He looked really good for Dak. They had a connection, but he had a lot of targets his first year, so I don't know, maybe somebody you may want to keep your eye on.
Yeah, no, Cole Beasley can be a sneaky stash. I like that, and Dak's already said he said it earlier this year that he loves Cole Beasley, his favorite target. So yeah,
absolutely. Do you have anyone else for the waiver wire?
Just one guy that I actually kind of caught on to late, but I think his name is Wisley. I want to say Wisley here. We can go on, and when I figure out the name correctly, I'll say it again.
No, that's pretty much the end of the show here. That's all the segments I wanted to go through. We've been running pretty long, so if you have anything additional you want to throw out there before the end of the show, no problem. If not, we'll let the folks get out of here.
Well, 2 things real quick. I did figure out that trade I did. I actually traded it was Joe Mixon and Larry Fitz for DeAndre Hopkins.
Oh.
That's what that trade was.
Okay, it's coming together. Now it's making sense.
Yeah.
And now it makes sense why you're going Collins over Mixon, because you're hoping Mixon craps the bed. You're hoping Mixon doesn't show you up like, wow, I should have kept Mixon. What's going on? Now I understand. So we're both going to be rooting for Hopkins tonight, I see.
Yeah, and I actually had a listener question.
Okay.
It's a standard league, and they wanted to know if they should start Larry Fitzgerald against the 49ers or Allen Robinson against the Seahawks.
But that's a great question. I'm actually, from what I've seen from week 1, I'm going to go Allen Robinson. I think he has more touchdown upside. Larry Fitzgerald, certainly, this is PPR all day. You don't even think about it, but Larry Fitz catches a lot over the middle, those 7 or 8 yard passes, maybe even a little bit less sometimes. Allen Robinson looks like he legit will go up and get a 20-yarder, and he will go up and get the ball and pull it down in the end zone. Obviously, Trubisky loves him. Good old faithful Larry Fitzgerald is great for PPR, but if this was just this 1 week against the porous Seattle defense, I think I'm going to fire up Allen Robinson in this one. Tough call.
I agree, definitely. Yeah, that's the same thing I said when they asked me. I said, that is a toss-up, and that is a great question for me to put on the podcast. But I agree, Allen Robinson.
Yeah, great question. And we'll probably do some more listener questions as we go forward with some of these segments. Again, we're just getting started up. Want to say, again, thank you, Dave, for joining us tonight. Thank you, listeners. Thought of the day, as always, if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. Dave, do you have anything for the folks before we leave?
Enjoy your football night and enjoy your football weekend. Stay safe during this hurricane that's going on, and you guys just have a good weekend.
Take it easy. We're signing off.